A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So, what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Dave King. He is the head of marketing over at Asana. Dave, how you doing today, man?
I'm great, Logan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us, Dave. We're going to be talking about how to avoid bottlenecks and really work collaboratively to get more done in your marketing team today. But before we get into some specific examples that you want to share with listeners, I would love for you to share with our audience a little bit about yourself and what you and your team at Asana are up to these days.
Sure. Well, first of all, I am a husband, a dad of 3 kids, and a really bad but aspiring endurance athlete. Professionally, I'm a reformed Wall Street analyst turned marketer. And for the past 10 years, I've been focused on this problem of how to help teams collaborate more effectively. So I led marketing teams at Salesforce that were focused on all their social and collaboration products. And then most recently here at Asana, where our mission is to help teams work together effortlessly. I think many of your listeners are hopefully Asana customers, but for those that aren't, we're software that helps teams coordinate and manage all their work, from small daily tasks to those big strategic initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there are a lot of folks out there looking to manage things effortlessly, as you put it. So you guys are doing some great work over there. So let's talk about that. Specifically, some of the biggest challenges is really in this area of collaboration, especially, I know our team is a fully distributed team at Sweetfish Media. I work with a lot of teams that are either fully distributed or partially distributed. And so there are some barriers to natural collaboration. Not that, you get everybody under the same roof and just collaboration happens and everybody's singing Kumbaya. But can you speak to, when it comes to being more productive, the role that collaboration really plays?
Well, first, we don't have a collaboration problem. We have a coordination problem. So teams today, in the past 10 years, the collaboration across teams has grown exponentially. So the number of Slack messages, the number of file sharing that is happening, the volume of email is growing exponentially. And yet our productivity, our real output, is struggling to keep pace with inflation. So the average, McKinsey did a study and showed that the average knowledge worker is now spending 60% of their day coordinating their work rather than actually doing it. And a lot of this it's in email, it's in messaging apps, it's in meetings. So I think the real challenge is, how do we take more of that time and do it on productive work rather than communications. So we find that teams really need what we call the 3 C's. They need software for communications. This would be like Slack. They need software for content or file sharing. Think, Google Docs. And then they need a coordination layer, which is, okay, who's actually doing what by when? If you got the 3 C's, you've got sort of the building blocks of great team collaboration.
Yeah. Who's doing what by when? It's kind of like, as you look at your personal goals, whether you use the SMART framework or the SMARTer framework for goals from Michael Hyatt, you've got to get specific. Who's doing what by when. So I think that's a great way to bring it home. And I'm definitely, part of that, people that feel like or are taking 60% of their day trying to coordinate their work, and the amount of Slack messages and emails, only climbing. So I can definitely raise my hand and say, that rings true for me. Let's speak specifically to marketing and creative teams. Most of our listeners, as you know, Dave, are B2B marketers. They are trying to get more done. They're trying to align to their sales team and really drive revenue. And so the emphasis on being more productive with fewer resources and less time to do it in oftentimes can be a challenge. So what are some of the challenges and solutions you see specifically in that functional role these days?
Yeah, well, I feel that acutely as a marketer. And I think there's been a couple things that have really driven it. First is our audiences are now always on, and they're expecting always on marketing. So we're expected to create more content for more channels than ever before. And I don't know about the rest of your listeners, but we're not always given that many more resources to do it. We're working with Sony Music. They're a really good example where, it used to be when you would launch a new album, like a Beyonce album, big launch, and you would market the whole album and have this big, year-long effort and campaign. Well, now the music industry has totally changed. It's not about an album. It's about streaming services, and it's about connecting with social trends. So if you're marketing music, you have to create a content calendar that is always on, and you have to coordinate that across all regions and all channels. So we've done that with Sony, and as a result, we've cut down that creative process by about 75%. For us here at Asana, we one of our big initiatives is to educate and engage our customers. Mm-hmm. So we started hosting these events to do these small workshops to help train our customers, and our sales team loved them, and our customers loved them, and we would do one a quarter. Well, fast forward, they've asked for more and more. This year, we will do 200 events on 4 continents with a small team of four events people, 4 community people. And so the coordination, the logistics involved with that is our marketing team is being asked to do more with less, and I think every team is doing so.
Mm-hmm. How do you guys even start to organize everything that comes together there? I know a lot of teams. We've just recently, as a team, finished reading the 4 Disciplines of Execution. That has given us a great framework for accomplishing what that framework calls your wildly important goals. A lot of other folks use, the OKR method, your objectives and key results. How do you guys take a massive undertaking like that, 200 events across 4 continents with a 4-person event team, and really break it down into bite-sized chunks?
Yeah. Well, I think whatever methodology you use, there's the 3 kind of universal things, which is the team has to have clarity of purpose, meaning what is the objective or what is the goal? The team has to have clarity of plan. So how are we going to actually achieve it? And that needs to be specific and with times and dates. And then who's responsible for what? So for us, our team, we use a thing called the marketing playbook, and it's modeled off of an OKR. But what we do is we take the company objectives, and then we break that into a marketing strategy. And this will be done, collaboratively with the whole team and an offsite. And we develop our marketing playbook. For us, it's a 6-part strategy called Ascend. Acquire teams online, sell solutions, turn customers into champions, educate and engage those customers, navigate globally, and define and lead the category. Now, each of those 6 plays has a key metric that we're trying to move. Underneath each of those plays has several initiatives, each of which has a clear timeline and project plan on how we're going to deliver against it, and clear roles and responsibilities. So a lot of marketing teams do this. What we're finding, as we've worked with some of the big global brands, is all too often that gets stuck in a PowerPoint deck at a team offsite or at a board meeting, and then never gets put into an operational plan of record. And I think the really key thing is to get it out of PowerPoint, get it out of a spreadsheet, and get it into a place where you can actually track and manage and see the progress over time. So our events we can do 200 a year and know, have a view into all the logistics and dates and see whether or not it's on track because it's in a system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The framework that I mentioned, the 4 disciplines of execution, one of the big takeaways we got as a team from that book is developing a scoreboard that is easily viewable and that everyone knows is influenceable by themselves. And so you focus on not those lag measures, the things that you're trying to achieve at the end of whatever it is, the quarter or the year, but the lead measures that you can influence, that you try to predict will be predictive of that lag measure that you're trying to achieve. What about your team, Dave? Do you have you worked to build in some dashboards, or what's your thinking on kind of this visibility into the scorecard or the dashboard to let people know, okay, we're either on track or we're not on track at a glance?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have just that, a marketing scorecard. For us, it's in Asana. We have a feature called Portfolios, which is basically a CMO dashboard, or we call it the marketing scorecard. And for each of our strategic plays, we have one metric, and everybody can see at any given time how we're progressing towards that metric. And this is really important because you've got, as marketers, we have analytics people, we have copywriters, we have designers, we have product. We need all of them looking at the same data and with the same simple objectives.
Yeah, and it needs to be simple so that they can easily see we're either on track as a team or we aren't. So I totally agree with you there.
Oh, and putting it into a place where you can actually drill into it and see, okay, maybe we're off track. Why are we off track? Can we unblock that bottleneck before a quarterly business review? Oftentimes, it's 1 or 2 small things that will get it back on track. If you wait till the end of the quarter, that's just too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for a lot of teams, I can imagine a lot of people listening to this, Dave will say, yeah, you're exactly right. We have a lot of communication and collaboration. I have Slack channels full. I have email full. I've even heard of people really moving totally away from email internal to Slack, or vice versa, depending on, which channel is most overloaded. It seems like they're almost running from the communication. What are some specific steps, if listeners take nothing away, a few steps towards that coordination of work that you're talking about to help them overcome some of these common collaboration barriers?
Yeah. Well, I think first is you've got to have the 3 C's. So standardize on your system of communication, whether that's Slack or Gmail or whatever you're going to use for communication. But that can't be for action items. That's just for communications. Second is have your content system. And then third is you need a system for coordination. I'm biased. I think Asana is the absolute best tool for marketers to do that. But you need a system to track your objectives, your tasks, and make sure that everybody knows who's doing what by when. A lot of people do this on spreadsheets. Spreadsheets just aren't really designed for this and don't scale particularly well. So, but anybody can sign up for Asana for free and get started. So you need those 3 things. And then if there's an action item, it's got to be in that system of record so that nothing falls through the cracks. That's the biggest thing for a campaign that kills a campaign is faulty assumptions on somebody was doing something by a certain date and it didn't get done.
Yeah, which comes back to that lack of clarity on responsibility, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it, Dave. Anything else that you think would be really helpful for listeners to keep in mind as we wrap up the conversation here? I love the way that you've put out the 3 C's for folks to really be thinking about. Something in what you just said that I really liked is, standardize on your communications. There's so many tools, but too many tools leads to just an overload of communication, and taking action items out of that communication channel and putting it into some sort of tool for coordination. Anything else that you'd add to that, Dave?
I think the big thing is taking that marketing plan that you have in your offsite notes and in your PowerPoint deck and putting it into a system and then sharing it. I know a lot of your audience is sales team members. And I think a lot of times marketers get on their heels with sales requests because we haven't done a good enough job of sharing what the marketing plan is in a way that everybody can see it. When you get it into a system and you can share the campaign timeline with your sales colleagues, or you can share the content calendar so that they can see what's coming by when, suddenly the volume of requests subsides and it becomes much more collaborative. So get that plan from a PowerPoint deck into a system. We just launched Asana for marketing and creative teams, which is kind of specifically designed for marketers, everything they need from managing their marketing strategy to their marketing scorecard to all the project and process management tools and the integrations that go along with it. And people can get started for free.
I love it. I love it. Dave, that's a really good point to end things on. There are a lot of factors that go into sales and marketing alignment. We've talked about that a lot on this show, but really just that keeping up with those requests and sales feeling like they know what's coming from marketing. I think that open communication can allow for them to be on the same page and not be that friction of, hey, we're always asking for stuff and then we don't get it or we don't know what's coming, those sorts of things. So you make a really good point there. And I think it has broader implications beyond just making marketing more productive, which I know was, one of our main topics today, but also, driving alignment with your sales team. Because when everybody's happy on both sides of the fence there, you are going to be more productive. So I love ending it on that note. Dave, if anybody listening to this would like to stay connected with you, ask any questions following up on this conversation or anything else, what's the best way for them to reach out or stay connected with you?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn at Dave King and on Twitter at DBKinger, or at one of our many events coming to a city near you.
Many events coming to a city near you. Absolutely. With you guys running that awesome events program. Awesome. Well, Dave, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Logan.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.